Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Allison Dawson and I'm the Student Development Specialist and English and Writing Tutor for ECTC Student Support Services Program, and I hope that each of you are having a wonderful day. Today I will be giving a brief virtual presentation titled Using Sources in Your Writing, Summarizing, Paraphrasing, and Quoting. This topic is one that I found is always a good reminder for students as it takes practice to learn how to properly integrate sources into your writing. So with that being said, my hope for today's presentation is that each of you will walk away with a better understanding of how to properly integrate sources in your writing by summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, and further apply this as you continue to go about your work in your college courses now and in the future. And so let's begin today, starting on the topic of summarizing. And so defined, a summary is a concise version of a text, the source that you would be referencing, written entirely in your own words. And so as you're writing a summary, it's important that you remember that it should hold to the original author's accomplished purpose or goal for writing, and that happens by highlighting those key points that original author demonstrates in the text as you're forming your summary. And so some key items to remember. Number one, the goal of a summary is to present the author's ideas, their main points, almost as though you're trying to teach it to someone else. You're trying to make it clear for your readers, but you also want to have a good understanding of what they're talking about. So with that being said, no added opinions or interpretations or quoting information, word for word translations, none of that within a summary. You want to completely understand what that author was saying so that you can utilize that information to support your main ideas in your writing with properly giving credit back to that author. Also, you want to remember that a summary is concise and less than 10% in length of that original source. And so let's move into how we might accomplish writing a summary. And so first off here, as you're developing your summary, you'll want to do a bit of an introduction. And so that will happen as you present that author by last name, the title of that article or whatever your source is in a publication, and the goal or purpose of that original author's writing. Again, you want to refer to that author by last name and use third-person pronouns after that original, that initial introduction. You want to remember to use present tense as you're introducing that writer's action. You're not going to say he or she says because that author is not saying, they're stating, they're explaining. You're attributing to their action as far as what they're accomplishing in that writing. And you also want to remember to present your original author's main ideas, those key points that they demonstrate in their writing, the same order as you found them in the source. Again, that will all be in your own words. So let's take a look at an example of what this might look like. And please take note of the key at the bottom right-hand corner there of this slide. Those yellow words will symbolize those introductory elements. Green for the attributions, what that writer's action is, and the blue will be that summary. Also take note, I've included the original information from that original source so that you can kind of see a before and after here. And so this example reads, in the first tab of the book, Quick Access Reference for Writers, Troika and Hess list and explain 10 beneficial points of advice for undergraduate students to consider as they are writing. Troika and Hess begin with the point that they appreciate the most, utilization of particular details. I have included my in-text citation, that is in MLA. So first of all, notice that I've included my introductory elements in the first tab of the book, Quick Access Reference for Writers, that title is in italics, and Troika and Hess. Then I list those attributions, list and explain. So Troika and Hess list and explain, and they list and explain 10 beneficial points of advice for undergraduate students to consider as they're writing. Now notice in the original, this information from the original, I've included that title of that section, the 10 top tips for college writers, because this first sentence of my example kind of summarizes that portion as a whole. And so you'll kind of notice the before and after there. In my second sentence, that's when I kind of dive into that first key idea that they've got. And so if you'll notice over in the original, I'll read through that bit of summarized portion. So we combined our lists and the results are shown in the graphic that they have kind of included ellipses there, starting with the top favorite tip. Number one, be specific by thinking of reasons, examples, names, numbers, and the 5 senses. And so as you look back at my example, you'll notice Troika and Hess begin with the point they appreciate the most, utilization of particular details. So again, that before and after there. Moving forward, keeping that information about summarizing in mind, let's take a look at paraphrasing. And so paraphrasing is A paraphrase is defined as a concise rendition of a portion of information from a source that is entirely written in your own words. Now, please take note here that oftentimes a common mistake is to confuse a summary and a paraphrase. Now, these are both reworded in your own words, and they both use specific details from a source, but remember that a paraphrase is a rendition of a portion of information from a source. A summary kind of covers the text as a whole, using the original author's main points. So keep that difference in mind. A few items to remember about a paraphrase. The goal of a paraphrase is to use particular information from the source and put it in your own words to accomplish the purpose of that original author. You want to hold to their intent, what they're trying to accomplish. You don't want to use the same word for word, grammar, sentence structure as the original author. You want to keep that original author's intent, again, you want that to be clear. And you want to use the same number of words as that original portion. Typically, paraphrases are about one sentence, maybe sometimes more than one sentence. And so if that sentence was 7 to 10 words, you want to keep that paraphrase 7 to 10 words in length. And so let's take a look at some steps to creating a paraphrase. And so again, you'll introduce that source for the first time with that author's name when referring to that source a second or third time, last name or third person pronouns only. You'll attach your attribution, that author asserts, that author explains what they're trying to accomplish, and then you'll insert your paraphrased information. Again, this will be in your own words. If there's anything that is the same as what you find in that original source, it must be in quotations to avoid plagiarism. So say there is one word that you just can't get rid of that is kind of just in the mix, it would be more of a quotation at that point, but again, that would have to still be in quotation marks, so keep that in mind. Now, an example of what a paraphrase would look like here. Again, take note of that key. The yellow words are introductory elements, green are attributions, and blue is that paraphrase. I've also included the information from the original source, which we'll cover after we read through the example. My example reads, in quick access reference for writers, Troika and Hess explain that effective essays in higher education smoothly transition between key points and evidence. Again, I've got my MLA and text citation there at the end. You'll notice my introductory elements, quick access reference for writers, again, that title is in italics. Troika and Hess, they explain that effective essays in higher education smoothly transition between key points and evidence. Now let's take a look down there at that original. Troika and Hess explain successful college writing moves back and forth between main ideas and specific details. So again, that before and after there for you to kind of see and reference in terms of what this would look like reworded. All right, we'll move forward to quoting. And a quote is defined, quoting is defined as taking a word-for-word phrase, sentence, a portion from a source, and integrating that in your own writing. Again, that all quoted information will be in quotation marks. A couple of key items to remember here. You want to use quotes when they strengthen your writing, when that the original author's intent and their wording is more strongly, it will be more strongly used. It will strengthen your writing. It will support your main point. However, with quoting, a quick warning, limit your utilization of quoting, your direct and block quotations. And I say that because when you quote too often, it suggests an over-dependency on that source and makes your writing look less original. And so you want to keep that in mind. You really want to limit your use of quoting. And you never want to use a quote to present a thesis or a topic sentence in your writing. So let's move forward into direct quotations. Okay, some circumstances I have listed when it's appropriate to use direct quotations. So if you got an expert testimony, statistics, counterclaims, or opposition, or when that author's diction is again more powerful or influential and it will strengthen your writing. I've got an example down here of what that quote would look like. Again, notice the key over on the right-hand side. The second beneficial point that Troika and Hess list and describe is to create a personal system to record writing ideas that pop into your head. Again, MLA and text citation there with that page number. Notice that my introduction here is more concise than the ones in the past. Once you refer to that source multiple times, you don't have to include items like the title or the publication. It's acceptable to just have a concise, the author's last names, and then straight into that information. They list and describe, and then you'll see that quotation within those quotation marks there. Another quick bit on quotations is block quotations. Block quotations are used when quoting 4 or more lines of information from a source. You probably may not use this one as much, but sometimes it's appropriate, and so if you need it, it's another way to quote. Typically with block quotations, as you'll see in my example, the quoted information is indented a ½ inch from that left margin. I also have a key here as we're looking through this example. My example reads, when it comes to providing evidence to backing up key points, Troika has explained. The letters RINs start words that lead to specific details. Reasons, examples, names, numbers, and the 5 senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. You might include emotions along with the 5 senses to fit your topic. Only some RINs need to appear as specific details in a piece of writing. And so looking back at this example, I've introduced it, Troika has explained. Notice there's no colon after the word explain. It just goes right into that quotation, which is indented a ½ inch. And you'll notice at the end of that quotation, the in-text citation there is still in that block, but it is outside of the punctuation. So those are a few formatting items to keep in mind. Should you need additional help with summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, Purdue, OWL, and Ashford University have some good guides as far as to further help on that, so check those out should you need them. If you need more help with MLA formatting, APA formatting, or documentation with either of those styles, Purdue, OWL, and EasyBib have really, really great guides. ECTC's Library Research Guide under the Citations tab I always recommend. There are videos, examples, and other informational links on there. Please check that out as well. If you're going to use a citation generator, be careful. They are helpful tools, but they are not always accurate. I myself prefer to know the elements needed within those citations so that when I use the citation generators, I can go back and double check all of that. EasyBib and Citation Machine are good tools to use. Again, double check those. You can also use Microsoft Word to compose your citations, but again, remember, based on that Microsoft Word version that you have, it may or may not be updated with those styles. Again, MLA and APA are both updated, and so keep that in mind. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me. My email, phone, and availability are listed on this slide. I thank you for listening and hope that you have a blessed day.